Yes, we're here and we'll do it live. Hi, folks. Welcome to the 185th running of the Kentucky Derby. Hope you guys got your hats on. We got a really great features and event tonight, so we'll check it out real soon. It's amazing what happened. This is my Clint Eastwood pussy power chair that I have up here. So we're going to talk to the chair. Who's that in the back? Hey, you in the back. Quiet down. And see, no one listens to me. Can you get them to whisper? There we go. So, hi, my name is Ragnar Lothgren. See, I'm just doing this for Halloween. I'm going to be a hell of a Ragnar. I was going to be Floki. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? Yeah. You got to watch Vikings on TV on the History Channel. What am I going to do for Star Trek for Halloween? I can grow my ears. But yeah, so I was going to be Floki, but I'm not going to be Floki because no one knows what I'm talking about. But I will be Ragnar because Ragnar's kind of tough. He's kind of the badass of Vikings. It's a great show. It's a great series. I recommend it because, you know, I do a lot more than watch TV. Believe me, I have a really exciting life. I'm not concurrently watching 6 to 8 TV shows at a time. And at the risk of being political, I'm not telling you who I support, but I'm really glad that one of the candidates is really crashing and burning. But will it be enough? Will the crash and burn be enough? I mean, and I'd really like to announce that, you know, I was really thinking about running in 4 years. So, and I think about running Republican, because that way, you know, I can just be a total asshole and, you know, collect the popular vote. Is anyone, you know, sorry for any of you Trump people out there, because, you know, if you go to a room full of writers, it's like 90% Trump supporters. It's simply incredible. All right, so we're going to get rolling here with our 3 features. And first up is someone I've known for 16 years, and she moved away to New York. She helped me edit the 26 pack a long time ago. Yeah. And see, I need to make it a longer intro because her bio is like 1 line. But Jane went to New York, and suddenly I started seeing her name pop up, like amongst things I was reading or some essays online. And you know, she was in Best American Short Fictions, which is fabulous. And she also has a book, Murder, of short stories, or are they short fictions or are they longer? They're available in the back in 3 or 4 designer colors, so make sure when you pick it up, it matches what you're wearing. Now, we sold a green one earlier. See, there it is. So she is also a friend to birds, which is really important. And her short story collection, Murder, is available right here, and it's also available at 421atlanta.com. Jane Liddle.
Hello? Okay. I'm going to read 2 short stories. One is from my book, Murder. It's a book all about different murders. It was really fun to write, but it's a little hard reading it out loud to people over and over again, because it's not the happiest book. And I know that's not much of a sales pitch, but I have to work on it. This one is called The Broad. The Broad was a bartender in Nevada, but not in Las Vegas. Not in Reno, either. The Broad didn't drink and didn't have to learn how to make a proper one because most of the men who came to the bar ordered beer, or liquor on the rocks, or no rocks. One Tuesday, the Broad got released from jury duty when there were doubts that her poor literacy could lead to proper judgments regarding the guilt or innocence of her peers. That afternoon, a leather-wearing man came into the bar and ordered a Tom Collins. He didn't feel like telling the Broad what was in a Tom Collins because he preferred to prolong the humiliation of others. The Broad did not stand for these kind of men and told him exactly where he could get a Tom Collins, his own ass. The leather-wearing man was offended, and he stood up and slapped his hand on the counter and put his finger in her face and told her just what his ass was good for. The broad broke a beer bottle at the neck so it could be used as a threat as she told the leather-wearing man to leave. The leather-wearing man did not leave and instead proceeded to climb over the freshly waxed bar top. He slipped in a way that looked like a lunge, and the broad murdered him in the neck with the broken bottle. Her loyal patrons were loyal witnesses when the police were called, and all insisted she acted in self-defense. She felt grateful for everyone's cooperation and taught herself how to make a Tom Collins so no one would have to go through that again. Her loyal patrons drank the Tom Collins because men will always rally around a good broad. And, I'm also going to read a story that was in the Best Small Fictions Anthology 2015. It's called It Will Never Be Deep Enough. My party is over. Did you have a good time? It's important to me that you had a good time and that everyone had a good time. I'm lying. It's important to me that you had a great time and that everyone had a great time and everyone got kissed. That includes me, especially me. Don't clean up. Sit with me. I need you to sit with me. I need to tell you things. Is that all right with you? I can hear Sam Cooke smile when he says, "Oh, I like this song," when he sings Sentimental Reasons live at Harlem Square. I can hear Carole King remember a time she had great sex when she sings, "You Make Me Feel So Good Inside" during A Natural Woman. Do you have someone? Do you like her? What does she look like? Does she have long hair? What are her measurements? Why do you cheat on her? Am I getting too personal? I think you don't really love her. I think she boosts your ego because she's beautiful. You like people to see you with her. You get another boost from cheating on her. The more improbable the affair, the better. Oh, that's nothing. One time at 3 in the morning, I called the fire department because my carbon monoxide alarm was going off. I figured it just needed a new battery, but I also figured it wouldn't hurt to call the fire department. Since it was so early in the morning, all the men on call were young guys, so I had my choice. I chose 2. Do you think Ava had fun at the party? Do you think Van had fun? Do you think the food was gross? Do you have hopes? Do you have dreams? Do you have goals? Are they in conflict? I have a hope I'll be loved by everyone and a dream that I'll stop caring. Ava doesn't like me. I think she's intimidated by me because guys dig me and I know it. She doesn't like that I know it, so she gets competitive. That's why she came with Van to the party. Van is my ex. I invited him and I invited her, but I didn't invite them together. But she came with him. I don't care. She left with him. Oh, you're funny. Your shirt tag is sticking out. There, now you're perfect. Who is the prettiest woman you've ever been with? Is she still pretty? That's a terrible thing to say. 36. Is that a lot? How many people have you been with? I thought it would be more. You seem like you had a part of your life where you needed a lot of validation. I did. I had that part of my life. I'm surprised so many people came to my party. Every person I invited came. Do you experience tiny devastations? I can't get through the day without being devastated by little things, like seeing a large tree that's sick or meeting an adorable dog that ignores me. Did you talk to Van at all? Did you talk to Ava? Do you think she's in love with him? I always feel blue after a party. I just want to listen to Graham Parsons and drink sherry. I know sherry isn't a thing to drink, but I drink it. I like to curl up in that chair by the ficus. I made that chair out of a pallet. It's really comfortable. Go ahead, sit in it. Do you like chairs? Do you like reading dystopian novels and drinking Irish coffee while sitting in chairs? I thought so. Van doesn't own any chairs. Well, he has one, but it's also a stool. You can't trust a guy who doesn't have chairs. You can't trust him to be generous about your comfort. If he doesn't have a chair, then he can't contemplate. He comes across as contemplative, but you know he has a book of questions underneath his bed. You know, that little pocket book called the Book of Questions. You have very nice hands. You have a nice thumb. It's a solid thumb, has got some true heft to it. My hands are too big for me. They're not man hands, but they're out of proportion. I clench my hand into fists when someone takes my picture, but not too tight, because then I'd come across as strict. Sometimes I hold my hands in front of me, but then I look like I had a Catholic upbringing, and that's not the look I'm going for. I guess I try to go for a rebellious look, a thoughtful rebellion. What kind of look do you cultivate? Oh, you nailed it. I like your plaid pants. Why won't you say? You shouldn't be with her anyway. You don't even like her. Well, you don't even love her. I want to throw another party. Not a dinner party like this midnight brunch, but a dance party. I want no one to come with anyone else. I want everyone to wear a skirt, even the men, especially the men. And I want to serve candy and play the Bee Gees. I want to play How Deep Is Your Love over and over. I want there to be dancing. You'd have to dance. No one would rather die than dance. Would you rather die than leave? Good. I think the most romantic way to be loved is to death. I want someone to love me with so much of their heart that their heart stops. Has anyone ever loved you to death? Do you think someone could? Do you think you could love someone to death? Do you think it's impossible for everyone? Do you think it's impossible for me? Thank you.
For all you buying online, that's Liddle with 2 D's, not 2 T's. Oh, you're welcome. You know, this is the modern world. You gotta spell everything out for them. Next up is, speaking of spelling stuff out, like I'm a sober person and I had to go to a marijuana dispensary the other day. It's just the wrong place for me. I'm like, look at that. I'm like, wow, you eat, it's a lollipop. Now that doesn't really appeal to children, does it? They have gummy bears, they got lollipops. It's like, oh, I'm in a lot of pain. Give me a gummy bear. It's awesome. So next up, really excited to hear Margaret Malone. And her book's also available here, People Like You. Margaret's writing has appeared in the Missouri Review, the Oregon Humanities, Propeller Quarterly, Coal City Review, Swink, LATimes.com, and elsewhere. You know, there's a lot of people that appeared in the Elsewhere magazine. She's a graduate of Humboldt State University with a BA in philosophy and now lives with her husband, filmmaker Brian Padian, and 2 children in Portland, Oregon. Margaret has been a volunteer facilitator with the nonprofit Right Around Portland and is a co-host of the artist and literary gathering Share. She's a recipient of the Oregon Arts Commission Individual Artist Fellowship, 2 Regional Arts and Culture Council project grants, and an Oregon Literary Fellowship. Though she's a former tribes member of the Dangerous Riders, in her heart she will always spend Thursday nights at the northeast corner of the table of Tom Spanbauer's basement. Margaret Malone.
Hi, thanks for being here. So just briefly speaking of medical marijuana, so in Oregon, they legalized recreational marijuana last July. And in my neighborhood, my old neighborhood, they have a cupcake place that's like weed cupcakes. But you don't know that. It's just called Toadstool Cupcakes. And I drove by it for like a month and then I was like, oh, there's weed in there, which is crazy. Yeah, and the kids. Anyway, okay, so thank you for being here. Can you hear me? I can't tell if you can hear me. Okay, this is my book. It's collection of short stories. 3 of the short stories are about the same characters, this married couple named Bert and Cheryl, who are kind of awkward and not quite right, but somehow work together in their strange way. And I'm going to read the first half of the last story about them. And it's called Welcome to Samsara. We were not beach people. Neither of us had what's known as a swimsuit body. Plus, Bert didn't particularly like sand, and I hated the way my feet looked in flip-flops. Really, anyone's feet. Flip-flops are not the best venue for viewing feet in general. But I'd been 10 weeks pregnant, and then we lost the baby, and after, I wasn't doing so good. Pretty much I just wanted to die. Bert didn't know what to do with me. Every day for 2 weeks, he asked how he could make me happy. I couldn't possibly answer him. He tried chocolate and flowers and finally a little zirconia heart on a gold chain, I guess because those were the ways men made women happy on television. I couldn't say what I really wanted was for Bert to have some decent semen meet up with a healthy egg and to please bring the zygote to me in a petri dish. That would make me happy. But I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I accepted the sweet, ordinary gifts he gave me. And when he was sleeping or watching basketball, I'd toss them out in the big gray garbage bin on the side of our house. It's true, I wanted to die, but I didn't want to do the dirty work, so I hung around in my body to breathe and cry and hate the world. Bert suggested meditation. Far as I could tell, meditation was about sitting and not doing anything, and I was already doing that most days, so why the hell not? It's about breathing, he told me. Just breathe until you think of nothing. So I sat on the bed and breathed. I kept thinking of stuff. The next day I tried again. I sat and breathed, and it was better. I think I almost did it. I was almost nothing. And then the phone rang down the hall, and I screamed, "You suck!" And I was something again. Next day, Bert suggested a counselor. "You think I fucking need a therapist?" I was in my pajamas, sitting on the edge of our messy, unmade bed. Out the window, 3 big crows were perched on the bent-top boughs of a pine tree across the street, their black claws clutched firm on the swaying branches. It seemed like a good life to be a crow, the bullies of the bird world. "No, not a therapist," Bert said. He was standing in the doorway. "A counselor. For stuff like this, they're called counselors. They counsel you. They don't therapeute you or therapize. I'm not sure what the right word there would be." The biggest of the 3 crows swiveled and cocked his bird head, one black eye, I swear, looking right at me. "Did you see that?" I said. "I think he saw me." "More like a guidance counselor, but for grown-up people, you know, going through the stuff that we did, what happened here with us." Bert sat down next to me on the bed and tried to see what I was seeing out the window. I smelled it right away. The sour, charred, dead smell that piggybacks on clothes and skin. "Are you smoking again?" I asked. "No," he says, "just a little, barely at all." She was an older woman. I forget her name. We only went once. I remember she wore a yellow knit cardigan. Her eyes were a roomy blue. Everything about her said death. She showed us to her office, a room without windows or plants, sat Bert and me down in matching uncomfortable blue office chairs, and listened to our story. Bad eggs, tiny testicles, blah, 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 then pills, injections, artificial insemination, then, at last, morning sickness, sore breast, blah, 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 that good part lasting just long enough to trust it, and then, blam, it was gone. The counselor listened, leaning forward in her chair, sipping something from a ceramic mug. When I was done, she spoke with an infuriating calm. Her voice so close to a whisper, I had to lean forward too. "Cheryl," she said. The sound of my name in her mouth made me want to eat her face off. "What a journey you've been on, both of you." She looked at Bert, she looked back at me, all of us now leaning forward in our chairs like logs on a pyre. These kinds of events can be hard. Bert reached over and held my hand. It was awkward because we both had these wooden office chair armrests between us, but still I knew him well enough to know when he reached over, he wasn't saying, "Yes, this is hard." He was saying, "Yes, you're right, honey, she's an idiot. Just keep it together a little bit longer." She said some other stuff. She said, sometimes it helps to honor the event in some way. What event? It wasn't a President's Day sale. Many of my other families found it helpful to buy a little figurine, something to keep around the house, to honor the event, something to remember. She pointed to a white ceramic angel sitting at the palm in prayer. Didn't she know? Remembering wasn't really the problem. It was the forgetting I was having trouble with. "Cheryl, do you think it might be helpful for you to have a keepsake like this? It's okay to tell us. This is a safe place." Perhaps she could feel the hate lasers shooting out of my eyeballs. Perhaps not. Either way, it was time to go. "Yes," I said. "What a good idea." I stood up. "We'll go get that now. Thank you." Bert stood up too. "Great," he said. "I think we're all set here." He was still holding my hand. I couldn't let go quite yet. The counselor rose to her feet with us. She said, "We have some more time if you'd like to keep talking." "Wonderful," he said again. "This was great." Bert and I, we've always been good counterbalancing each other at our worst. "Thank you so much," he said. "Thanks." He reached out to shake her hand with his free hand, and for a moment, the 3 of us formed a human chain. Like together we might break out into song to oppose senseless killings or an oppressive regime. But what had happened to us wasn't anything like that. It was only a miscarriage. The single, quiet slipping away of something that wasn't quite something enough yet. The counselor broke away first, dropping Bert's hand and smoothing her skirt, or perhaps she just wiped his hand sweat off her palm. As I grabbed my raincoat and purse from the side of the chair, she said one last thing. "One last thing," she said. "For families, couples in your situation, sometimes it helps to take a breath from your life, yes? A little vacation, just the 2 of you. Enjoy yourselves. Eat a nice chicken dinner. Drink some wine." She said more stuff as we walked out, who knows what. I knew to stop listening at her best piece of advice. Bert belly flops into the Royal Papaya Resort's chemical blue pool water, brimming with chlorine and probably, let's face it, at least one person's urine. The cool water splashes onto my bare legs, stretched out on a Royal Papaya lounge chair. Bert heaves his body onto the pool's rim and clambers up onto his feet, then performs some kind of running side leap back into the pool. The water is tossed up against the pool's concrete lip and sloshes back and forth, splashing my legs again. An older couple across the pool lies on their side-by-side lounge chairs, reading a newspaper. On their heads are matching crisp white ball caps with the hotel logo, a fat gold papaya wearing a crown. They give me a look like Bert is my responsibility and he's out of control, and could I please do something to ensure he no longer invades their equatorial peace with splashed water spots on their precious morning reading material. I smile and wave and think, fuck you so much. Bert doggy paddles to the metal railing on my side of the pool, which in the pictures on the Royal Papaya website appears enormous, as big as a lake, but in person is as big as a regular pool. He limps toward the empty lounger next to me. I think I stubbed my toe when I did that cartwheel. Is that what that was, I say? The pool waiter walks by in sunglasses, surf shorts, and a tank top. It's hard to tell he's a waiter. He looks more like a lifeguard, except he's carrying a round tray. I order an iced coffee with Kahlua because it's morning, but also it's Hawaii. You know, a cartwheel's on your hands, right? I say. No, I don't think so. That's not right. Bert towels off his chest and hair. Why is it called a cartwheel if you need your hands? Carts don't have hands. I have no reply. When a couple goes to Hawaii, I'm pretty sure they're supposed to have sex. Not me, though. I couldn't do it. It'd been 2 months since our President's Day sail, but my body still felt distended and foreign. My clothes fit wrong, like they were someone else's clothes. Sex only served to remind my body that it was a different body than it used to be. My old body liked sex. This new body preferred to be the base camp for a brain. Physicality was not to be trusted. Without warning, it could fail. Instead of having the sex we should have been having, Bert would doze in front of our room's giant flat-screen TV, and I would lace up my sneakers and wander the maze of the outdoor market near our hotel, a great big tiki-themed tourist extravaganza. I zigzagged through the stands and thought about purchasing rainbow magnets and waterfall mugs and macadamia nut sampler packs, gifts for friends and family that I knew myself well enough to know I'd never actually give away. The souvenirs would sit in their original bags on a shelf in the hall closet for years until I moved or died or threw them out. I didn't ever want to buy anything, but I went back each afternoon to disappear. I love to disappear in a crowd. I love it the way other people love attention. Also, there was an enormous ancient banyan tree in the middle of the market, a big, beautiful mess of cascading branches and roots and trunks that kept the place shaded and cool. Underneath that tree, each afternoon, I would sit for a little while and hope for my life to make sense again. Then, when it didn't, I'd head back to the hotel. I'll stop there. Thank you.
You're gonna have to find out how that ends by picking up the book. Nice little read there. You know, the great thing about like filming all this live for, you know, everyone in the Facebook world is that it tells you who's watching. So when I was doing the whole marijuana story, it said that my 16-year-old daughter was watching. So we're gonna have to have that little talk. No, it's all good. It's not from me, believe me. Love you, honey. I'm looking at David, who's holding the camera while I'm saying that. Love you, David. Okay.
You too, Tim.
Last of our features, Sandra's story. Her first full-length poetry collection, Every State Has Its Own Light, was published by Word Poetry imprint of WordTech Communications in November of 2014. The collection was a finalist in the May Svensson Award. Story has written poetry from 1980 to 1988 and then resumed in 2005, yes, and continues to do so. Her poems have been published in various magazines, including the New York Quarterly, Friction in the UK, Thema, the Aurorian, and the New Millennium Writings. She's been a member of the weekly collaboration workshop Jamaica Pond Poets since 2005. Sandra, story.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you all for being here. Oopsie daisy.
Lower that.
Oh, I can do this too. You sure? Yeah. Got it. Good. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. I think because we're in the heart of summer, I would read poems from the heart of summer too. Because I live in the city, I live in Jamaica Plain, I have several summer in the city poems. One is called Green City Summer, because it's quite green in many places in our cities these days. This was actually posted at Boston City Hall last summer. Sirens and bird songs duel into duet. Hard to tell if it's the trucks braking at the intersection or the crow cawing sharply twice every 20 seconds that make me unable to think. Yipping by the playground's squeaky swings, a brown pup sits small and panic-stricken. Suddenly, thunder lays its gray over the scene. Flesh and concrete go silent under dampened leaves. At dusk, mockingbird on maple sings a car alarm. Wow, 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 whoop, 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 whoop. Crickets and air conditioners throb all night. First day. I like to hide in Sunday, where no one thinks to look, and no one asks the questions or interrupts the book. Mail is not delivered, and cards stretch out in solitaire. Roof a blanket when it's cold, in summer, private sky. Silent hammers, fewer cars, music plays among the possibles. When it is. Energy converts quickly to impatient pacing. Strong can turn into stuck in time. Sure can break into fragments that look like past failures. Summer slips to ice in the temperate zone. Below the clock, behind the calendar's revolutions, where doubt has had its way before, chapters emerge unencumbered by numbers, wearing only their beautiful names, lined up together in some perfect order. It's always a good idea to go to the beach in the summer. It's a popular spot, and of course, often more happens there than just swimming or sunbathing. Beached at Wellfleet, and this has an epigraph. Wellfleet Harbor, where 59 whales came ashore, has been known as a hot spot for mass strandings of pilot whales for decades, the New York Times. So I thought, I heard this, and I saw this in the Times, and I started thinking about, the usual question, why? Gulls drift, round and down, tiptoe the lips formed on the bay, kiss the bait and rise again, scan the dappled surface for another nibble of slight shadows, scattered trinkets. Below, whales churn a channeled dining trade, plow through dark depths until their chests force them to battle weight of liquid atmosphere and struggle up for air. At the jagged rolling edge that splits the sea from firmament, they gasp in the light. At the sight of the gulls circling, whales' dreams plunge suddenly farther upward toward the sky. They find themselves on land. Gulls who breathe in place in flight have no such yearnings. If they did, reports might surface a flock that took a dive was found drowning on the ocean floor. I don't know, at a lot of beaches I went to as a kid, they had particular artists who did your silhouette. Did anybody remember this? I don't think it's around much anymore, but here's my poem Silhouette about them. For a certain fee, you'd sit there and they would cut your silhouette into some paper. What you don't talk about trails like strips of black paper tumbling from quick scissors of the artist set up with a sign on the boardwalk at Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Questions you answered with silence, excused by your sideways pose, snipped the details into your profile. The artist, eyes darting, exposed your chin and lips and even lashes as scraps of dark fell away. You sit framed now, a shadow in an oval, cream-colored background, while the cutters who clipped and twirled in the sun on so many boardwalks have disappeared, taking the leftovers with them. Different systems. When I first had my book out, I could not figure out how I was supposed to find poems in the book. I think I figured it out now. Summer, of course, can be in more distant places, including other countries, upcountry. You speak a strange language with the inhabitants, surrounded by sharp cries from the vendors, bleating goats and bustle of chickens. I can make out no familiar words from you. I think I interpret some meanings from your gestures as you bargain for pieces of cloth and fresh fruit, but I have no way to be sure. I'm amazed when the gawkers, local shoppers, and hawkers nod and smile at your gibberish as though they understand. Foreign to me as the currency you handle, as the rain, sun, weather, and the spicy smells, your voice begins to blend with the humming in my ears I got that time I woke up on the floor at home after cracking my skull on the lip of the television. I am frightened again. Please come back to the hotel with me. Set the gifts you picked out next to our luggage. Put your head on my pillow. Speak to me in our native language. Small towns are also scenes of interesting behaviors in summer. Lovers' Leap. The state park near the small towns had a Lovers' Leap. Couples with hopes out of this world, pairs that shared a bigger secret, invited to take advantage of the drop. Colors, genders, ages, something wrong. He's headed for jail, she's having a baby. Over the cliff, the bottom was green but rocky. Were the lovers still holding hands when they were discovered? Nobody seemed to remember. Something ripped when my hand left his, ripped by a feeling with no name yet. The word for afraid and fearless together. I backed away from the edge that summer. Nobody stays in small towns these days. What's impossible has shifted. I'll drive back to the park when it gets warmer, hike to the edge, and tell him about it. What I did over summer vacation. The Globe actually published this. They asked for essays about what you did over summer vacation, but I sent them a poem and they ran it anyway. Bought a car the color of chariots. Watched transfixed as something tumbled slowly, slowly from the sky. Let it fall on me. Saw the reflection, but not the thing itself. Went to Mystic, Connecticut without leaving town. Googled old friends and fresh topics, found out more than I bargained for. Got a gold notebook, scribbled in it on subjects I know nothing about. Read messages from 4 teachers who no longer have mailboxes, addressed apologies to 5 smart souls, held back no hatred for number 6. Met my best friend after all these years, marking time like Ella Fitzgerald's rock, growing around me a glittering tree. Relearned the loneliness of Helen of Troy, sang the blues of Diamond Lil, opened the door for a woman in a wheelchair who told me an earth-shaking story, held an apparition close whenever it wanted. Heard someone say, "I love you more than life itself." Answered, "Thanks, but you need to love life more." Made a list of things to do in the fall I've never ever done before. Thank you.
Let's hear once more for Sandra.